Hey everyone, I'm Joe and today it's time for me to talk about my favourite movies that I saw at the cinema of 2017. Now, 2017 was a really good year for me going to the cinema. I went 30 times in total, which is not the highest amount of times I've ever been to cinema in a single year. That was actually the early 2000s where I went like 49 times in a year, which was insane. But it was still an extremely good year, and I expect 2018 will be just as good, if not preferably better. Of course. Anyway, out of those 30 films, I've managed to narrow it down to 6 films that I thought were just really good and just really had something a bit special above the others. Although, frankly, narrowing it down to 6 was really hard because some of these other 24 were simply fantastic, and I really did enjoy pretty much everything that I saw. There wasn't really any complete failures this year, which frankly is actually unusual. The first film that I'm going to talk about is Logan. Now this is obviously Hugh Jackman's last film ever as the Wolverine, or at least it's meant to be. Since the film has been released, there has been something that Hugh Jackman has said along the lines of that he would play Wolverine again if it was in a crossover role with Deadpool, which is obviously played by Ryan Reynolds at the moment. So I'm curious and indeed hopeful that maybe if there is a Deadpool 3 out in, say, another 2 or 3 years' time, that possibly Hugh Jackman might be with him as obviously Wolverine, which would be very interesting, I think, because in Logan he played, he's obviously using the graphic novel Old Man Logan, where Logan's regenerative abilities are starting to fail him now that they've been working non-stop for so long, and it's quite an interesting storyline. And if he was opposite Deadpool, of course, he would be a young Wolverine again. So it'd be, I would assume, but he might not be. It's hard to say. I think it's quite an interesting situation at the moment with Hugh Jackman and the Wolverine character. What will happen with it? I'm quite eager to find out. And frankly, Logan was a brilliant film. Anyway, I should stop talking about Deadpool. It was everything you could want from a Wolverine film. And really, personally, it was very graphic as well, which was surprising, and it was really fun. For the second film, I'm going to choose Wonder Woman. Now, as far as critics go, and as far as box office success goes, Wonder Woman, I believe, was the most successful film of 2017. This was hyped up beyond belief. And I was a little bit apprehensive going into it, because normally when they hype something up to the ridiculous levels, I often find that it doesn't live up to the sheer amount of hype, especially when it's to this level. It really was insane. But unusually, in this case, it actually did live up to it. It might have even surpassed the hype, which is frankly remarkable by itself, because it had everything you could want from a film like this and more. It had brilliant characters, a perfectly good plot, a really good plot in fact. It wasn't overdone and sort of ridiculous, but it wasn't totally serious every second either. And it just was really good, really well made. And Gal Gadot played Wonder Woman brilliantly. In fact, I think that she's the main reason why the Justice League movie didn't fail completely. Wasn't brilliant, but at least Gal Gadot's character as Wonder Woman was good in it. The third film that I'm going to choose is Dunkirk. Now, I probably only really saw this because by the time Dunkirk was out in July, I had an unlimited card for the cinema, so I can go to cinema as much as I want, and that still applies for a large part of 2018 as well. So I saw it being advertised, and obviously it's an English film, and I just thought it looked something a bit different from what I usually watch, so I went along and saw it. And it was just really was a good surprise because it was well made, it was meaningful, obviously, to do with real events or based on real events, and all the characters were good. You had some darker moments, obviously a lot of darker moments, because what it is, but it did have some interesting lighter moments and some sort of hope for the future, which I liked. I just thought the combination of things in this film was great, and they got the atmosphere right as well, which I was hoping they'd do that. I was hoping they wouldn't make it out to be loads of superhero characters doing heroic things throughout the whole of Dunkirk, and they didn't really. There was a few mildly heroic characters, but they weren't over the top, and I really liked that. For the fourth film, I'm going to choose Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Now, this got hammered by critics, and it didn't do very well as far as box office takings is concerned. But I don't care about that in the slightest, because this film was just really, really fun. Now, there was definitely some flaws in the plot and indeed in the characters. I mean, I think one of the two main characters, Dandy Han, didn't have enough something to pull off his role. Cara Delevingne's character I thought was actually really good. His character needed to be a slightly different type of personality to work well, and it wasn't. So it sort of stood out a bit, I thought. But other than that, it was really good, and he still did a good job. Dandy Han did. He just needed to be a different personality type, as I said, and you know, it was nearly phenomenal. It just lacked a few little things here and there. And it was made by Luc Besson, and I like Luc Besson as a director, so you know, I mean, he did The Fifth Element after all, and Leon. So you know, he's a good, solid director. The fifth film I saw mainly because of my unlimited card as well, and that was The Limehouse Golem, and this stars Bill Nighy. Now, I didn't know too much about this, other than what I saw in the trailers about a month or so before. It looked suitably sort of creepy and eerie, and it looked somewhat Victorian in theme, and that's all I knew. So I went into it, and it was exactly that. It was dark and atmospheric in Victorian London, and it was just fantastic. This is about a serial killer before Jack the Ripper, and it's extremely intelligently made. There are twists and turns and things that you don't expect every single moment of the film. It's got just brilliant characters, and the characters really get into the roles extremely well, and I was impressed by this. Actually, out of this list of 6, this would probably be my joint first favourite film of the year, along with the last one, which I'll talk about in a moment. It's just brilliant, this film was, and if you can watch it on a on-demand service or wherever else, then I would recommend it, because it was fantastic, it really was. And finally, on to the last film that I'm going to talk about in this video, and obviously therefore the joint favourite film of the year along with The Limehouse Golem, is Thor Ragnarok. Now, this is probably not going to be a surprise, because I talked about this on Twitter rather enthusiastically when I saw it as well. Thor Ragnarok is probably, well, at least for me anyway, my favourite Marvel Cinematic Universe film I've ever seen, and I have seen every Marvel Cinematic Universe film at the cinema at this point. So I'm quite a fan of the films. Thor Ragnarok had everything you would want from a Marvel film, but it also had more humour, and it had more of a personal reason for the characters to be involved. Some other Marvel films, I'm not going to say which ones, because there's quite a lot of them at this point. Some of them, the bad guys in the film, they were good, but they didn't make the protagonist do what you wanted to, and the protagonist didn't do it because there was a personal threat to them. It's just like, oh, hang on, they're going to kill some people, we must save the day and be a fairly generic hero, which was fine, but there was nothing personal in it for them, in some of them. With this, it had personal motives for both, obviously, Thor and indeed the Hulk. Plus, it had a lot of humour in it as well. I mean, this was easily the most humorous Marvel film they've ever made, and I suspect that will not change for some time, because the two Infinity War films, well, the second one is not called Infinity War as such anymore, they will not be as humorous, because of course they're going to be a darker, of course, to do with Thanos, so they'll just be grimmer, I think, in a way, so the humour won't be there. This will be sort of like the shining light of the Marvel films for some time, I think, which personally I think there's nothing wrong with that at all, because it is a fantastic film, it really was. And with that film said, that is it for all the films I watched in 2017. Please tell me what your favourite film or favourite few films of the year was, because I'm always interested to know. You know, there may well be, and probably is, various films that I missed in 2017. I mean, I try to go as much as I can, but it's within reason, of course. So there'll be things I miss or things that I've completely never heard of ever. Especially if it's a smaller independent movie, maybe. There's a chance I've never heard of it. And that said, that's it for this video. All my social media links can be found in the description box below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you another time. Bye for now.